So I wanted to share a metaphor or even a prophecy with you today. This is a little bit daring of me. I have to tell you a story, something that's occurring in my life. And, my father passed away earlier this year. And I spent a lot of the year kind of dealing with his estate, his packing away his things. And it's taken a long time, the whole process. And I've just, I'm in a rare and privileged position where I grew up in a house with my parents and my brother and sister. And my father after my mother died, my father lived on in that house until he died at the age of 94. And he lived in that house since all his children were born. So we were born in that house and lived in that house our whole lives and never lived anywhere else. And he then went on living there. And so I had this incredible stability through my childhood of this one house where I could go back, and it was a beautiful house with a big garden and set amongst the trees and woods all around. And all the memories there. So the process has been packing away the house is a bit like packing away my childhood. And recently, last week, I drove home for the last time away from the house, knowing I would never go there again, having gone through this process of letting go and packing it all away. And as I drove away, this huge revelation just started to come over me that I was living inside a metaphor. And then the metaphor just got deeper and richer for me. And I realized that this is a metaphor for humanity right now, for our planet. And this is the prophecy, this is what I bring as a possibility for you to consider. That we are packing away the world right now, our generation and the next few generations. And what do I mean by that? Well, it's a bit like, the process has been for me and my brother and sister packing away a lifetime of things and memories and packing away objects and old ways. This house that my father lived in and my mother and we all lived in, they never changed it. They never updated it, really. All the wiring was really old and dangerous and certainly no longer kind of allowed. All the plumbing is old and dangerous and, and so, the new owners, when they come in, will probably have to gut the whole house, and start again. And they may knock parts of it down and who knows, they come with their vision. And it's a bit like that with us, we still have the old paradigms and the old ways of doing things. And, there's a new wave coming in the world. And this wave is going to clean out the world in some way. And that's quite an unsettling time. And in a way, it's an interesting time to be growing something new, within the same house. So if, 6 months ago I decided to put in a new kitchen in this house that is being sold, that would not be a very sensible idea. And this isn't to say that today we shouldn't be growing new things and starting new endeavors and all that kind of. That's not what I'm saying at all. But what I'm saying is, if we're packing away an old way of being and there's a new guest arriving, a new host coming in, a new generation. Then there's going to also be a period in which the house needs to lie empty in some way, and everything has to be cleaned out, the cupboards, the drawers, the objects, things recycled, things got rid of. And then, you come to this point where it's empty. And then the cleaners come in and it's completely cleared. And you have no control or power over the new guests. They're going to come in with their vision and their dream. It's not to do with you. If you're packing the way, you have to let go of that. You don't know what's coming. So I put it to you, whoever's listening to this, that this, is a possible way of viewing life right now. What if you were to view life like this right now? You might live in a different way. You might live in a lighter way. When you're packing something away, there are things that you do. Perhaps you say blessings, you say thanks. Perhaps you have a feast to celebrate how things have been, and you let things go. And you let them go with grace and with gratitude, not knowing what's coming ahead. And that might be a way that you might like to look at your life right now. And as I said, it doesn't mean you can't be doing things and growing things, but it's an interesting idea, isn't it? Because, if there's an energy coming in to sweep the world clean, and if we're going to empty out the world in some way so that a new force, a new energy, a new paradigm, a new human can come in, the guest, the host, then it changes the way we look at life today. And there's always this notion among humans that things are going to keep going in the same direction as they're going now. We're going to get to Mars, and then we're going to evolve these other, high technologies that are going to save us and all of this. And, there's always that feeling. We always assume that. And my prophecy today, as I bring you, is that I don't personally believe that that's the case. I don't feel it. And, there are huge implications to that. But it means that maybe you won't want to consume so much. You won't want to grow so much in terms of, we can't go on sustainably growing and growing and growing. We have to cut everything down. We have to simplify. We have to simplify everything. We have to live more lightly. There has to be fewer of us. And so, yes, there are a lot of concerns. We're very worried about the environment and all the creatures that we share the earth with, but perhaps they're also part of this. Perhaps everything has to be minimalized. And you have to remember that nothing is ever lost. Nothing is ever lost. The DNA of all beings continues. It continues. It continues because the amino acid structures out of which life was built are the same for all of us, for all life on this planet. So new life can always be built. It's just a matter of time. Could be another 100,000 years before what was extinct can be rebuilt. But these periods have come and gone before for species on this planet. And, I find it a powerful metaphor, packing away the world. How will we pack it away? With grace. And it doesn't mean we shouldn't, make a stand and be fiercely, warriors of justice and all of those causes. That's part of our finale, to make a stand, to really kind of stand for that which we love. Yeah, but knowing that this is coming, this huge change, this great change, your expectations might lessen a little bit of yourself, and your judgments of others might also soften, and you might find a new compassion coming up inside you and a lighter touch, so that you can let things go and that you can also embrace a beautiful future potential. And you have to add in another layer to this metaphor as well, I think is important, which is, if you think you're not going to be the one that's here to enjoy that new future, that paradigm, that would be sad in a way. And there is always sadness in the transition times. And yet, if you know that you are an immortal soul and that there is a continuity of consciousness, then that soul that's inside you is the guest that will come in the future. It is you. It is us. So we will return in different forms, yes, in a whole different consciousness. That's a great cause for celebration, not just a fantasy. But if that's a quiet knowing that you can contact inside yourself, that's a good use of this time to strengthen those inner connections to the continuity of consciousness of your soul that's lived many, many, many lifetimes and that's been through transitions perhaps even greater than this one in the deep past, that lives outside time and space. And this great metaphor, this great allegory that we're living in, this theatre, that is an incredible time. So how will you pack away the world, your world? And how will you live differently in a lighter way? These are the questions. And, there may not come some magical thing that saves us all. It may be that this is how it has to be. There has to be a closing down, a wiping the slate clean, and that the earth, in awesome resilience, will just reboot in a new form over generations. And that means that the generations that are here during the transition are extraordinary. Consider this. Consider when a storm comes to the world. If you live on the sea, for example, by the ocean, and a massive storm comes and it sweeps everything before it. Everyone goes indoors. Most people hunker indoors and just in their bolt holes. And yet, certain people come out. You know who comes out? Big wave surfers come out. People who specialize in riding storms. And perhaps when we look at children coming into the world now, perhaps that's who they are. Big wave surfers. Specialized beings who come in specifically at times of massive change to ride the change, because they want the exhilaration, the risk of that change. And I put it to you that every generation is equipped internally, specifically for its time. So we need not even worry about that as parents, as an older generation passing over. So there are things at work in the world that we don't always understand. And here am I'm a prophet, Prophets are always outside of their time and space, We are often laughed at or, doubted and considered crazy. And only time will tell if what I'm saying is true. And it's only for you to consider and how you might live in a different way if that were true. And you might open your heart and your mind even more. And you might live in the way that specifically the earth needs you to live in a more so. And it might not dampen your enthusiasm or your passion or your zeal for justice and truth and for things to be right and to challenge things that are done in the old way. It need not dampen any of that. But it will give you a new way of seeing things. It will light the flame of hope in your heart. It will give you a sense of deep purpose. And also this, tinge of sadness, but a great joy for what's to come and a sense of continuity. So I hope that this idea actually gives you more purpose and gives you a greater perspective and build these links within that enable you to surf this change and to see it as a beautiful, positive thing. Even though, yes, many may suffer and the population may completely decrease and our cupboards may empty out and we may pack things away and there may be fewer and fewer of us here. And there may be suffering. There may be great suffering, potentially. And that's part of the letting go. And we must stay close to each other and we must build our bonds together and connect back to the earth. Live more simply, live more lightly at this time. Lessen our expectations of what might happen, of what, that we might be able to save the earth. We may not be able to save it in the way that our mind currently conceives it. There's a new guest coming. We don't know what that's going to look like. But the tempest, as it comes and as it flushes out the old, we can greet it with openness and understanding and clarity. So, be well. Open your heart, open your mind, and soften into this time. And really consider this metaphor deeply and see where it resonates inside you. And if it doesn't resonate, throw it out. Forget all about this and me and move on your own trajectory into the future, into the now. Thank you for giving me the time to listen to this.